What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the Extreme Drummers podcast. Firstly, thank you very much for taking the time to come and listen to this. And for those of you who have no idea who I am Dan Wilding. I'm the drummer of Carcass, and I'm a complete podcast obsessive. I absolutely love podcasts, much to the dismay of my family and friends. I'm also equally as obsessed with drums and metal and extreme metal drummers and all of that stuff combined. So I thought, why not combine all those obsessions and make a podcast of my own about drumming and extreme metal drumming. And I'm very lucky as well because I've managed to be a quote unquote professional metal drummer for the past 15 or so years, and in that time I've met some very, very cool people who are also incredible drummers as well. So I thought, what a good opportunity just to talk to some good people about drumming and extreme metal drumming, get nerdy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you and welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. And I've got quite a few of these lined up, so please keep checking back for new episodes and stuff. You can get more information on the Instagram page, which is at Extreme Drummers Podcast, or on my Instagram page, which is at Dan Wilding Drum. If you don't have Instagram, then Facebook is my Facebook page is just my name, Dan Wilding, facebook.com/Dan Wilding Drum, I believe. And this is going to be uploaded to YouTube as well. So and obviously all the regular podcast channels. So yeah, just keep checking back if you don't have Instagram or Facebook. But yeah, I really hope you enjoy it. My first friend this week is the incredible drummer and equally as incredible person, Ash Pearson of Revocation fame, previously of 3 Inches of Blood, and some of you may know him from Drumeo as well. He's a great teacher, great drummer, great dude, but yeah, we really get into it. I can't really even remember what we talk about because we talk about so much stuff, but yeah, we talk about drumming a lot. Obviously, we talk about our views on drumming and Ash's dislike for stick tricks, among other stuff. Yeah, and we put the world to rights. Obviously, we talk a little bit about the current situation that we're all facing at the moment, which isn't ideal. But yeah, it's just a really cool chat. If you want to learn more about Ash, I'm going to put some information about where you can find stuff about him in the show notes, because he's got a Twitch channel. He's on all the regular, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. YouTube. He's got a lot of stuff on YouTube, which is really, really cool. So yeah, but that will be in the show notes for you to check out. But otherwise, again, I really hope you enjoy it. Thank you for taking the time to listen. And yeah, let's get on with episode one of the Extreme Drummers podcast. Mr. Ash Pearson. Here we go.
Can you trigger my vocals?
Quantize, dude. Quantize.
Quantize my vocals.
To the grid. But yes, so thank you very much. How are you keeping in all this stuff? Because we haven't spoken in a while.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of shit's gone down since we saw each other.
Yeah, I reckon a couple things went a little sour.
Yeah,
but
quite literally.
Yeah. No, I'm doing okay. I mean, like I'm up in Canada, and things have always been a little bit simpler up here in reference to anything that's going on in the States. Even though they're our neighbors and all that stuff. It came at an okay time for Revocation because we like literally did finished up our album cycle, and then everything shut down like a week later. So it was really bizarre timing. Whereas for other people I know, it was the opposite. They were just starting something, but we did a Japan, Australia, Hawaii tour in February of 2020, and then came back like March 10th. And then everything closed down. And we didn't have anything planned. We didn't have anything planned until festival season, so we had like 8 months off anyways. So
yeah,
it wasn't a big deal to, just cancel everything. And so yeah, that on that front, everything's cool. I teach at a music school uh once a week, my buddy's music school,
Oh,
and
cool.
um and then I work on film and television as a background person, as an extra.
Yeah, I was
I've
going to say,
been
because you messaged me about that yesterday, working on film, and I was like,
Yeah.
what's he doing? Has he become some kind of star in this time off?
No. Well, no,
Some kind of film star.
I used to do well, I've been in the industry for uh since I was 9 years old,
I
I
think I
think.
remember you telling me this, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I used to shoot commercials as a kid, and
Wow.
um and then right around, like, around high school time or whatever, I do stand-in slash extra work, and I'm in like the actors union and all that shit,
Whoa.
and it's a really good job, I gotta say. It's a lot of fun. It's fun because, like, the sets are bizarre, and just it's a bizarre setup. And then it's also just like you're either available or you're not.
Mm.
It's not like, if you don't come on Friday, don't bother showing up on Monday. It's like, hey, I have to go on tour for fucking 6 months straight, and they're like, okay, cool, see you when you get back.
We'll get someone else while you're gone, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a whole pool of people,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
So
Of course.
yeah. And so it's yeah, and I still enjoy it. I think it's really fun. And I've always done that, and that's basically what I'm doing right now. And then I just, whenever I'm not working, I'm working on music. I just started doing a Twitch thing too, so
Yeah, I was gonna say
I j-
I want to talk to I want to ask some questions about that. But yeah, anyway, sorry,
mm,
keep going.
mhm. Yeah, no, so like I've been doing that, like, a lot, once or twice a week type of thing, and then yeah, just like new music from different bands that I play in, and I just go to my practice space, which is like a 20-minute walk from where I live, and I just do my demos and my practicing over there. And then I practice here at home, and
Yeah, yeah.
I live with my girlfriend, and we spend time together, and um yeah, I cook a lot at home. I love to cook. I mean, shit's like okay right now. And then I read a lot too, and I always just try and stay inspired in general,
Mm,
kind of no matter what's going on. I try and I don't know, just like expand my knowledge base. I've been learning Japanese for a couple months as
that's
well.
so sick. It
Mm.
seems like a very tricky language, not only because of the different alphabet, but just kind
Mm.
of just in general. It seems like a very tricky language.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Like, not a lot of people know about the different alphabets, and even there's different counting systems too.
Yeah, yeah.
And 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 yeah, and the sentence structure is kind of odd. At least for it's definitely not intuitive for a Westerner,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
European, or
An English
you know
speaking, well,
an
even no,
English speaking, like, yeah,
Latin language kind of
yes, a
person.
Latin
Yeah,
language speaker.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I've made some notes, dude. I
Mhm.
made some I made some notes because I wanted to be quite professional.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I wanted it to be a proper thing. I wanted some people to learn some things about you they may not know.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah. I'm down.
so my thing is daily routine. I'm big into daily routines and what people do on a daily basis. Habits. You don't have to tell us all the habits, obviously, but
Mhm.
just the ones you wish to share.
Okay.
But like, what's a Ash Pearson daily routine? Like, you could do pre-COVID and
Mhm.
post-COVID as
Mhm.
well, because obviously everybody's routine has very much changed. I
Yeah,
assume in this time.
yeah. I
Are you
do.
like are you an early riser, or
No,
are you a
I would.
lion kind of guy?
No, yeah, I wake up between 8 and 9 in the morning, type of thing.
Oh, okay.
I make a cup of coffee, and I sit down and read for a little bit.
Nice.
And and then from there, it depends. It depends whether I'm working or not, or kind of what I got going on for the day, because
Mm,
it's usually pretty varied. Like I mentioned, I'm either doing a film gig, or I'm doing a teaching day, which comes a little bit later, or I have
yeah,
a private student that I teach online, or something like that. So, but
yeah, yeah.
in general, I start with that, with coffee and a little bit of reading, to sort of snap my mind into action, and also to I don't know, just like engage my imagination a little bit. I try
Mm,
to hold off cruising social media or any of that stuff.
That's so smart, dude. That
you
is the
know,
smartest move.
because that like if I engage too deep down the rabbit hole of that, like at the start of the day, that almost like it's
Yeah.
it's weird. It sets like a bad habit for the rest of the day where I end up like checking my phone too much type of thing,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of shit.
Negative headspace too, because
Yeah.
especially now, I think there's so much negative news
Mm,
all the time, isn't it? So if you
mm.
wake up and you're like, oh god, more negative.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's a good plan.
It keeps
Do
on
you read
coming.
like do you read heavy stuff, or do you read just kind of fiction, non-fiction?
Um, I'm kind of down for whatever. I haven't read like War and Peace or anything like that, but
Not
like,
yet.
yeah, and not yet. I I just finished like, and I usually post like about a book if I've read it. I usually post about
Mm.
it just to
Oh, I think I
you know.
saw one very recently you posted about actually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was probably 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules
That's the
Verne.
one.
It was
That's
a
the
very
one.
good
Yep, yep.
book. I loved
Yeah.
it. It's like one of my favorites, I think. And I'm just finishing up the Hobbit or whatever by Tolkien, and then
That is a classic too.
yep, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna read another Star Wars book afterwards. It's about Darth Bane. It's like the Sith Lord who started the rule of two, so of
Are you
an apprentice and a master. So
are you a Star Wars dude? Are you a big Star Wars
I
dude?
I'm not like a convention nerd person, which is fine. I'm down with, but but I kind
Are
of
you
just like
almost convention
no,
level?
I'm not much of a convention guy in general, unless it was Nam, because like the Nam convention was awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Oh, you've been to Nam, have you? You've
yeah,
been to
have
Nam?
you not been to Nam before?
Never been
Yeah,
to Nam. No, no.
I
Uh,
think you would have really enjoyed it.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it seems like it's equally stressful as enjoyable from most people that I've spoken to about it.
Yeah, it's really exhausting just because like you're on your feet,
I can
you're
imagine.
on your feet all day pretty much, man. And yeah, it's wild. Um, but I mean, other routines that I'll have is yeah, I try and drum a little bit each day if I can.
Mm.
Like I said, I'll devote some time to my Japanese. I usually have to go for a walk because I don't, even if it's raining, I still don't like to be inside for
Yeah,
too
yeah,
long without moving my body. And then or I'll walk to my rehearsal space and I'll go play for the afternoon type of thing, and then come back
yeah,
like when my girlfriend's done work, and then we cook dinner and watch something. I'll maybe read some more or study some more. And yeah, it's all pretty like simple living, at least lately. So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and then touring was also part of the routine before everything went down. So but my days looked pretty similar as well. I definitely like
when you
to.
were at home, you'd be this what similar to how you are now, pretty much.
Pretty
Yeah,
much,
yeah,
yeah, for sure. I try and keep it consistent.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to. I think, and I've definitely realized with all this is routine is key. Kind
Hmm.
of, not necessarily strict routine, but kind of positive habits, and kind of having a plan for the day to to even something little,
Yeah.
like I can't even think of an example, but I find it makes it easier to get out of bed, if you know if you know what
Sure.
I mean.
Yeah. Instead of having no
Which is
mission.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's purpose is such a big thing, and I think like bringing this into drumming as well. Like I found it quite hard initially when all this kicked off to practice, because I was a bit like, what the fuck am I practicing for?
Mm.
Like, because
Hmm.
generally I need to. I like learning as much as I can, and not necessarily just playing Carcass stuff. Obviously, that's a very small amount of what I practice, but
Hmm.
just the mindset of uh almost like what's the point thing. Like, did you
Hmm.
get that at all at any point? Did you have a slump where you were like, well, practice was tougher
Hmm.
because of that, because
Yeah.
there was no gigs coming up and there was no kind of.
Yeah.
Did you have that at all?
Not really, because like I kind of feel the same way even when I'm between tours or whatever. I don't necessarily even like practice for the sake of going back out on, because I know I'm gonna need to play blast beats at a certain BPM or whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of it's like I just like being in general, like anybody, I have like good days and bad in terms of
Mm.
or not bad, but in terms of like inspiration or want
Inspiration,
or
absolutely. Yeah.
wanton desire to go and practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm not as disciplined as somebody like Alex Rudinger would be about
Mm.
he plays drums a lot, and he does like his same warm-up routine every single day, rain or shine, kind of no matter
Yeah,
what's
I've heard
going
about
on.
that. It's quite incredible, really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and I would just, it's not that I wouldn't ever do that, but it's like sometimes, like, I mean, I feel like there's more to life than just drumming, and
Oh,
sometimes
absolutely,
sometimes other
absolutely.
sometimes other things, like, take priority, or I'm like, oh well, what, I kind of just drum when I feel like it, more like
Mm.
more like
Mm.
anything, which
Yeah.
is usually almost every day, but some
Yeah.
days it's not, and I'm like, I didn't drum today, or I haven't drummed for 2 days. It's like, well, whatever. It's not like I'm
Yeah.
never gonna drum again. It's not like
Yeah. Exactly.
exercising. It's not like exercising where you don't keep up with it. You become fat, or you lose your or or
Yeah.
you lose your the consistency is the key towards losing weight,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
for drumming, it's like I'm always thinking about it, and
Mm.
that is one of the things that always keeps me engaged as well. I'm always like have a beat in my head,
Yeah.
or I'm
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
contemplating something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's, I find like that's where the difference lies, is it's just like
Mm.
in me, and it's never going away no matter what type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I can complete. It's almost like I have the same thing. It's like a constant distraction in the back of your mind, almost that.
yeah,
It's always just it's like it's just ticking away, just
for
just
sure.
like you can't and you just can't get rid of it. Like
Yeah, no doubt.
no matter what's in your way, there's always oh yeah, I'm just thinking of a sticking pattern or something that I
Oh,
might
for
want to try
sure.
next
Like,
time or something.
yeah, like if I went through a breakup in high school, and she's like, "I don't think we should see each other anymore," I was like, "What?" And then like I would like literally think of a song in my head too. Like I'd be hearing a riff while I'm getting broken up with, or something like that.
Yeah,
Which
I think my
yeah.
wife finds it tough because I mean I'm quite a distracted person anyway, but she'll give me a list of things that need to be done, or like to remember that I need to call this person for the child minder or something, and I'll be like
Mhm,
and in my
mhm.
head I'm just like. As you say, like a riff or some kind of
Yeah.
like some kind of. I wonder what that would sound like if I switch the accents around. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And she's like, "Have you got all that?" I'm like, "Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I have all of that. I will do every single thing."
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just hear "Scourge of Iron" by Cannibal Corpse in my head all day long. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of an illness, isn't it? I think in a lot, in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
But
man. Yeah.
yeah, I guess because have you been doing? I mean, you've done teaching a lot
Mhm,
anyway, right? Because you've I guess most people should know, but you work with Drumeo.
mm.
I'm guessing you still work with Drumeo. I guess it's a
Yeah.
different situation now with everything going on, but
Yeah, I'm not technically an employee of theirs. I do like contract work with them, is
yeah,
how it works, but we just work together. Like a lot being like I've worked with them many times over the years, and I've known them
yeah,
for like maybe 7 or more years. So, it's not like I'm there every week or every month doing something, but
mm,
we've fairly consistently just like I'll go in and film like a series of videos for
yeah,
a day or
yeah,
two, or host a thing, type, back when that was going
yeah,
on. The last thing I did was Alex Rudinger, like when
yeah, man.
when the shut
Just before, right?
yeah when
Just
the
before.
yeah we were like, "Oh man, I don't know if you should come." He's like, "I don't know if I should come." And like selfishly, I was like, "Well, I want you to come because because A, I want to get paid, and B, I want to see it,
Yeah,
and B, I
exactly.
want to see a video, of you and me, doing an intronaut song together, type of thing. Like,
Oh yeah, because you did the double drum thing, didn't you? That was sick,
yeah,
man. That was a really
yeah.
cool idea.
It was a thing.
That was really cool.
It was stuff like that I wanted to happen. I was like, well. And he's like, "Yeah, you're right. Life is just calculated risk. So like, I'll do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, and if shit hits the fan, we'll just fucking take you home. We'll just
Yeah, yeah.
take you to the airport." Um, but yeah, yeah. So I work at Drumeo, or with them, from time to time, and I do teach, and I've done that on and off for I don't know, maybe 8 years or something. And I do drum clinics as well. I always like doing those. I did my first one maybe like 10 years ago, 12 years ago or something like
Wow.
that, and I've maybe done
Yeah.
like, I don't know, 15 or 20 or something like that.
Wow. I'm guessing that's a very different beast to a live show because I've never done a clinic, but the closest thing would have been the Drumeo thing, obviously that we did,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming a clinic is a very different. It's a very different approach to a live show because
Oh
I'm
yeah.
assuming it's just drummers.
Yeah,
For the most part, anyway, it's just
it's
drummers and
musicians one way or another for sure,
mm,
and it is a different approach. It's usually it's funny, like the first one I ever did, I wrote out like basically a script of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
every single like little point that I wanted to do. And then I started as I became more confident with A, addressing a room of people, and B, just like being confident with the flow of
Mm,
things, then I more or less just abandoned the script thing entirely. And
yeah,
I would just show up, and because I felt confident enough in my knowledge about
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the art form,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
and as long as I had tracks prepared and the sound and the setup all sorted out, then the rest could kind of just flow a little bit on a question and answer type of basis. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know I would never run out of things to talk about, you know.
Because it's well again as you said because the knowledge and the passion you can do well you can talk forever like people
Mhm.
like us can just talk forever about the most boring nerdy things can you
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
so
If they're like, "Hey, what's your warm-up routine?" Well, then that would spark off, 10 different
20 minutes
subjects. Yeah, yeah,
yeah
10 different subjects
exactly
for 20
yeah
minutes at least,
yeah
or
exactly
whatever. So,
exactly
I mean, really the challenge is almost like, trying to not get away from yourself in terms of
mm,
answering a question and then having it be a 10-minute answer.
yeah
I find it's better to do, try and be anecdotal and informative, and then also, allowing the point to finish and move on so other people can ask questions. And if they don't have questions, and be like, okay, any questions? No. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to play another song right now.
yeah yeah
And
yeah
then
yeah
afterwards maybe we'll talk a little bit about groove, and then people would be like, well, how do you add groove to your playing it, or something like that.
yeah
And
yeah
then,
yeah
I'd be like, well,
yeah
when you usually do this, try doing this, or that kind of shit. It's yeah.
So it couldn't be more different from a regular live
Yeah.
show then
Oh
because
yeah.
it's so it's so much more interactive. Because in my mind, I mean, I've only been to a handful of clinics, but in my mind, it was more similar than that. But now you're explaining it, it's kind of yeah, that makes
Mm.
it's actually completely different because it's so much more interactive, I guess, and it's so much more. A lot more of it is about speaking to people than actually playing because we're all used to playing
Mhm.
in front of people, but
Mhm.
actually articulating you're playing is probably equally as hard as performing in front of people.
Mhm.
So-
Yeah, yeah, and I try and turn it into like a teachable kind of a moment, in terms of like taking the points that you're saying to them and being
Mm,
like, okay, now in this song I'm gonna play, like, just pay attention to the way I play my fills, or pay attention to the way that I don't kill my crash cymbal, and I ease up
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
I ease up on it in reference to my kick and snare, therefore making my kick and
yeah,
snare drum more present
yeah.
and sound louder, even though it's like I'm really just like, self
Yeah,
mixing myself.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's such a big. I feel like those kinds of things don't seem to be talked about enough. But there's a whole. I remember Drumeo doing a thing on that. I think started with. Well, I remember seeing Todd Zuckerman talking about it, but
Mm.
it's kind of it's an unwritten rule almost, isn't it? Like you have to mix yourself as best you can,
Mhm.
and then the front of house guys should be just there to kind of for tweaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, your kit in theory, your kit should sound as good as it can be while with someone stood right next to it, and that's I guess that's kind of the goal, and I feel like that's not talked about as much as it probably should. Like it's so important. All the best drummers, when you
Mm.
stand next to their kit, you're just like, this sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yep.
You don't need any magic because it just sounds like, oh, this is how it should sound.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, the mics will do a lot of the work,
Mm.
so you don't have to kill your
Yeah,
drums
exactly,
all the
exactly,
time. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
sometimes yeah, kill those drums, but sometimes, a lot of the times, like, it's a full on spectrum of
Mm.
dynamics.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, dynamics is a big one as well. That's often overlooked in the metal realm, and
Yeah.
how important dynamics can be. And it's going back to groove as well. Groove doesn't exist without dynamics.
Yeah.
so it's kind of like groove and mixing your sorry, dynamics and mixing yourself is all part of I think creating groove and also creating your own sound. You know,
Hmm.
because as you said, like if everybody is perfect and everybody has no dynamics, then who is anybody? Everybody
Hmm.
is everybody. Yeah, everybody's
Yeah.
the same. So
Everybody's a
it's how
computer. Yeah.
exactly it's
Yeah.
how someone plays a paradiddle, or it's how someone plays even a single stroke roll. It's how someone plays that makes it sound like them. So it's and yeah, it's I really try and push away from this overly quantized kind of crazy
Yeah.
perfection side of thing. Again, once I absolutely respect people that do that, but it's not for me. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it seems like we're on the same boat with that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Did do you find with writing? I'm gonna move on to
Yeah. Yes,
writing because
please.
I'm really curious about that because
Yeah.
like you were saying about uh with the speaking to people and kind of having enough knowledge about the instrument that you can feel comfortable and you don't need a script. Like when you're writing or kind of performing live, are you the kind of guy that's um completely dependent on the same thing every time, and do you have to really write out and map out what you play, or are you more kind of lost in the moment? If it's different this time, it's fine, and if it's if it's not like it was on the album, that's fine, and if it's not like it was yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Are
Mhm.
you more
Yeah.
of a lost in the moment guy, or do you like to know, like, do you like to have a script on the drums, as it were, when you're playing
I mean,
or
yeah.
writing?
I mean, I try and be lost in the moment when I'm playing live because like all the work that you do before then is supposed to lead up to you being what you play and like, just being free where your inner musical world is matching your outer musical expression.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that being said, it's not like I'm like, oh, I played that whole part on the ride, I should have been on the crash. Like I don't,
yeah. Yeah, no,
I
not
I'm
that
not.
extreme. Yeah.
Yeah, not that extreme. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, usually that the variations come in with fills,
Mm, mm,
or or just like how hard I push something, maybe
mm.
in terms of volume, or how much I move my body versus like trying to keep it just like super efficient. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's where the variations occur. Sometimes maybe I mean I don't like headbang or anything like that, swivel my fucking neck or anything. But
Stick twirls.
no, I don't
Fucking.
do that either. I don't think anybody should. No, I'm
That's a
just
whole other podcast.
nah. People who can do stick twirls, it's fine. But
I can
y-
feel the anger. I feel the
that's not a big deal. um,
anger.
yeah. But when it comes to writing, yeah, I'm down to try out different stuff. But in general, I think that a drummer's role is to elevate the music and in reference to a guitar riff,
Mm,
and in reference to just whatever the general feeling of the music is. So it's, to me, should be obvious or evident that like, okay, this is clearly a part where I'm on the crash, because
yeah.
the ride just can't do this, the openness of this riff any justice or
Mm.
whatever.
Doesn't
But
fill the space in the right way or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that, I think that's where those artistic choices come in.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, but live in general, I've sweated so much over this material that it's like locked in there pretty
Yeah,
much,
yeah, yeah.
for the most part. But what was still a 10% margin for difference.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Have you found um being a more kind of uh what's the word? Eclectic music listener. Have you found that easier with your writing as well, do you think? Has that opened up doors for you, do you think, for in terms of writing, and because I've noticed because I was listening to the most recent Revocation album very recently, a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some crazy shit on there, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks.
Like it's like cymbal work, especially the cymbal stuff's kind of really interesting, the accents and stuff. And is that is that process? Is that from you? Like, are you the drum guy, or are they is Dave and the other people in the band, are they big on the drum side of things too? Do they push you in certain directions?
Oh yeah, yeah. Everybody pushes everybody else. It's me and Dave push each other. At least in terms of like the drum performance. But in general, I mean, it comes down to me, being able to actually execute it. Nobody,
Yeah.
nobody programs drums for me to play.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
there's never any of that happens with the group, which I like, and I prefer it that way because it's really easy to be like, hey, play this insane blast beat at 290 or something like that. Some people
Yeah.
might think like, oh, well, it sounds good on the computer, so just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And I'm like, well, that's not the kind of player I am, really.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so a lot of the shit is like very tactile that we do, where it's like, back when we were writing it, we would write in a room together, or we would file share, and then I'd send stuff back.
Mm.
And then he'd be like, yeah, well, I really like that blast beat there, but maybe let's try a thrash beat. And then we kind of work it back and forth,
Yeah.
and try and see what's best in terms of what to play. But also with like, with the more intricate stuff, that's usually me, because like I'm the one who knows best how to actually, like play a shuffle on the right hand while playing the left hand on the hat, except for when I need to hit the snare, but the snare is being played by my left hand, and my right hand hits it on the third time, or shit like that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
no, they're not going to be able to articulate that kind of specific to me.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been in I don't know if revocations like this, but I'm sure you've been in situations where the guitar player sings drum parts that you should play. Have you been in those situations?
Yeah,
I'm sure
and
you
and
have.
and actually,
They suck.
usually it doesn't work good, except for the case of revocation, because Dave is actually really good at that. I really gotta give him props, because he's a really good air drummer speaker. It's not so much it's not so much do this, and
Yeah.
he just like plays with his hands. But he'll be like, hey, well, what if we try this?
And
Like
it actually makes some sense, kind of. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just because he's like, I don't know, he's like a Berkeley trained jazz
I was gonna say he
musician,
seems like
and
a musical dude. He seems like one of those, just kind of, if he put his hand to something, he'd probably be pretty good at
yeah,
it.
for
Kind of one of
sure.
those guys.
I know he's like, yeah, when it comes to music, and especially guitar, and then when it comes like, he can think of a good drum line, but he's
Mm,
also not really accustomed to programming drums, which is also
mm.
great, because then, that limitation places a different kind of emphasis on his writing style as well, where it's
Yeah,
like, well,
yeah, absolutely.
I can't write this out on, on drum kit from hell to send to somebody, or he doesn't want to, and he'd just rather communicate it verbally. And then in doing so, it's actually a really good way for the drummer to actually fill in a lot of the blanks with their own personality,
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that, and I'm sure you've been in this situation when you get sent a programmed drum track, and in your head it's hard to get out of that, because you've got this
Yeah,
box and you're just like, oh, because I've listened to this demo so many times, that
yeah,
riff is now a blast beat, and
yeah.
you're like, so that's a blast beat now. That's always going
Mm,
to be a blast beat. And then, whereas having a completely blank slate, it could be anything, and
yeah,
that's much more. It's much more true, I think, isn't it, to a kind of musical expression, especially when you've got good musicians like all of the members of Revocation are. It seems anyway.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think
So.
that's a great place to start too, is to
Mm.
start from that blank slate, because you can always program in
Absolutely.
something different, and you can always
Mm.
add some extra shit. But I think the idea of laying down your first impression is is a very valuable one. Um, and I do that when I do demos and stuff like that. Unless I know it's whack what I'm playing. Um, because sometimes you're like, ah, well, I know you're I, s- you know, I and I play it back and I hear myself going through the motion of playing the beat without actually like believing it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I know.
So
So
I'm
it's
like,
like a kind of half-baked version of what you
yeah,
think you want to play. Yeah.
exactly. And really, you're just trying it out, but also
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, there's I think there's something to be said for going with your gut when it comes to writing, because
Mm,
you're
mm,
reacting to a riff on a visceral level, and
yeah.
that's if that's how it's making you feel off the bat, then that might be a good place to start at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that's completely different for every single person, because
Yeah.
again, because of your musical, I'd say upbringing,
Mm.
not upbringing in the way obviously that your parents have forced music on you, but in the music that you've chosen to listen to, that just seeps into you, doesn't it? And then when it comes time for you to create something, it
Mhm.
comes out in one way or another, and it's completely different for everybody. Like if me and you listen to a riff completely blank slate, we'd come up with completely different stuff.
Mhm.
I'm sure there'd be some similarities, but kind
Yeah.
of
You'd be
maybe
able to
not.
you'd be able to I'd come up with an idea and you'd be able to execute it better than I could.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember when I drum tech for you like last year or whatever it was, like even you were just playing some fills or whatever. I was like, "Oh my God, I wish my fills sounded that good." They
Oh yeah.
don't.
You are unbelievably well, you're unbelievably kind. That's very kind of you. But you're also wrong. You are
Yeah.
Was it
Mm.
only last year? It feels about 10
It
years
it was
ago.
December of 2019. So it was
Fuck.
basically 2020. So it was like the third it's December 14th, 2019.
Damn. Wow,
Yeah.
specific. Wow.
Yeah.
Cuz you filled in for Intronaut, right? For one
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, on
Whew.
December 13th. Yeah, yeah.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
like, I mean, and I'm assuming that that must have been quite a unique situation for you. Firstly, only doing one show.
Yeah.
I assume when you fill in, if you do that kind of stuff, you do at least a handful of shows.
Mhm.
Um, and dude, intronaut stuff is fucking insane.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously Alex Rudinger did the last album, and that's just
Yeah.
on another planet. But Danny Walker is insanely good as well.
It's very, very
So
good.
so it's like I'm sure you were just like, okay, one show. This is a
Mm.
lot of work.
Yeah, plus like I was already on tour. I was on a 3-month tour and I had between getting back home and I think I got back home on December 2nd and the show was on the 13th or something like that. So I only
Whew.
had like 10-ish days to actually be on a drum set practicing everything,
Damn, dude.
And everything else was just like I was just like listening in my bunk
Yeah, yeah,
type of
yeah, yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
So
are you a kind of transcriber guy, or are you a listen to it as many times as you can until you get it kind of thing?
I'm that guy. Yeah.
That must be hard with that kind of shit though. With polyrhythms, crazy time signatures. That
Mhm.
I guess
Yeah.
that you must have counted. You must have had some high play counts on those songs.
Yeah, it's definitely yes with the high play counts for sure. And that's the thing. It's like I feel like that's just the way I like to do it. I don't I will look at something to try and decode it, but
Yeah,
ultimately I need to be able to memorize it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think one of the best ways is just like listening over and over again, because then you can really start to discern the different layers, which I think
yeah,
if
yeah,
if you're going to do music justice, it's more than just about playing the right notes at the right time. In my mind, it's like I need to, because I'm not just learning the drums, I need to like learn the riffs too. Like I
yeah. Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
you got
Yeah,
to like I think if you're going to do anything justice, and if you're going to hold on to your confidence as a player while you're playing that stuff, because sometimes shit goes off the rails and you need to know exactly in what part where you went wrong, you
absolutely.
know
Yeah, yeah.
and you got to be able to hook back into the music instead of just like the pattern,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's
so
it's
like
like
yeah.
learning your favorite song, as you always did as a kid or whatever on the radio. Like every single bit of it, and
Mhm.
you can sing it without listening
Mhm.
to it, kind of thing. I guess it's that
Yeah,
kind of thing, right?
yeah,
But
exactly, yeah,
but just much 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 harder
yeah,
with
just harder.
with
Yeah.
Intronaut.
Yeah, it took me a while to discern certain cycles and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
they got a song that's in 11, or at
Whew.
least one of the riffs, and it's like 11's not hard, you know, it's just like, you know, 12/8 is whatever, it's 12/8, and
Yeah.
but you know, and 11's just one less than 12, but it's also just not like necessarily intuitive kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can hear a cycle, but it's like, and yeah, you know, there's instances where that like the band, like one guitar player is playing like 8 notes, uh something in 8, and then the other guy's doing something in 7. But I gotta
Oh,
hook into the
Jesus.
guy. I gotta hook into the guy who's playing, you know, just to create like a weird texture. But I'm hooking into the guy who's like playing in 7. So, but it's also like it can also be confusing if you're trying to listen to everything at once. So,
Oh my
um,
God.
yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's
That
nerd kind
sounds
of shit.
nightmarish.
It was a nightmare. Like, even to the day of the show, I was still listening to the music being like, okay, remember this part, it's 3
Yeah, yeah.
times, and then that's where you know,
Oh
and so
God.
I was just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, you studied for the test, and now it'll be fine, you know. That's the other thing too. You got to talk yourself down off the ledge a little bit in terms of like, "Oh, I can't do this." It's like you know, at some point you need to have that sort of a zen sort of a way of approaching it. Otherwise, your chances of failure will increase exponentially
Absolutely, yeah.
if you're trying to listen to all the voices in your head.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, sometimes
Exactly.
you can't, and you shouldn't. More often than not, you should just rely on like your training and your instincts, and just like, again, try and uh break down the barriers between your playing and the music. You know,
Yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah.
you know, instead
Make it
of,
connect as much as possible. Yeah, and
yeah.
I think you know that also comes with experience, doesn't it? I think and maturity in a lot of not necessarily age, but kind of musical maturity. The more you play and the more you are in those situations, I think the easier it becomes to talk yourself off the ledge.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
instead
talk
of being
yourself
like,
through
I'm
it.
gonna
Yeah,
fucking train wreck this, you'll be like, no, I've been
no,
in this situation before. I can
yeah,
do it. You can do this.
exactly. For sure. Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. It's you know, right before a really hard, complicated part, I'll make sure to turn off my brain and just like play the thing that you know you should play.
Yeah, yeah,
And then also, what before a really fast part, I try and remind myself to relax. Uh, you know, because there's a really fast part coming up, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
know a tense muscle can't play really fast stuff. You need to like relax
Absolutely.
more. You need to relax more. You gotta do the opposite of what your grin and bear it. You gotta hold
Yeah.
your hold on tight instincts. You gotta, you know, make sure to remind yourself to, like, yeah, not do that, so you can play it, you know,
But yeah,
loose.
I mean, again, this was a
Yeah.
big thing that I'm, you know, speaking of underrated players, I genuinely think you're massively underrated, and I think it's I think it's just it's hard, isn't it? Because there's so much noise now, if you know what I mean. Like,
Oh yeah.
especially with social media, and I'm not saying that you know other people that are more elevated in status
Mm.
uh, are you know are bad drummers or whatever, but it's just it is surprising to see who reaches the top and who doesn't, and
Yeah.
it's not about ability, but I think that's probably been the case for a long time, isn't it?
Mm.
It's not about
Yeah.
how good
Yeah.
you are, it's
Yeah.
about how well you promote yourself.
Yeah.
Should we
Yep.
say?
Yeah, it's not who you know, it's who you blow.
Yeah, quite. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
No, it's,
exactly.
yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of really talented drummers out there for sure, and it's actually really nice to see a lot of them getting success, or at least attention.
Mm.
Um, but
Largely
then,
because of social media as well,
mhm,
which is quite nice.
yeah, yeah, and you know, I I mean, I was always in it, and for just, I don't know, myself trying to top what I did last, or try and
Yeah,
create consistently good music with people that I enjoy making it with. And, you know, even if all the Instagram shut down tomorrow or whatever, I'd still be doing it because like
Yeah, yeah,
I'm a lifer when it comes to wanting to just make music and shit. So I think
absolutely, yeah.
if there's any difference between a person who's underrated and somebody who has gotten to the top is that, I mean, people get big and are flash in the pans all the time. I don't necessarily want to go for the most visibility. I'd rather go for quality over a long span of time, you know?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I think like I guess both of us have been very because you started really young too, like because 3 Inches of Blood, you were young, right, when you started
Yeah, I
really
think it's
touring with those guys,
21, I think was my first tour with them.
and at that time, was it as you joined, those guys got or you guys got kind of pretty fucking big.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It was I sort of was at the with them at the right around the crest of the wave of their career in terms of the musical landscape actually having money around that time.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
back when record labels had money, it was
yeah,
basically like right around the time, like if you look at it in the broader scope, I joined around 2007. And so
yeah,
they were on Roadrunner. Roadrunner had money and especially for metal bands back then.
yeah.
And
They
they
were
they
the label, I guess, kind of
yeah,
in a lot of ways, weren't they? They were the
yeah, and
big
they
one.
they changed up their business model, in terms of the kinds of bands that they would sign after that, especially for metal. I mean, but also, I mean, right around that time, like like file sharing online was getting more efficient, and YouTube
Yeah,
was launching basically right around then, and becoming. I don't even think Twitter was out yet. I mean, like all this kind of shit, and right around
MySpace was probably still a thing back
yeah,
then.
exactly. And right around that time is around the time where it's just, labels started losing out on money, and therefore the wanton desire to take chances on things or to pump money into bands to try and, you know, give them visibility
Mm,
and
mm.
opportunities and everything. So, 3 Inches of Blood, like whatever decline we experienced, it was largely like in the grand scheme of just like, I mean, financial stuff, yes, a little bit. Like we were getting a little bit less love from labels type of thing, whereas
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we would have gotten it before. But that's just a symptom of like what I just mentioned. And then
Mm,
I mean, people at home, they wanted to be with their wives.
yeah,
One
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
guys lost his dad, wanted to be at home with family and stuff, and was just
Understandable.
over the whole fucking touring thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, different. It was a different landscape back then, and man, it's so funny because like, uh, the album before I joined, it was a different drummer, but Joey Jordison had produced the album,
Oh
and
wow,
yeah, yeah,
didn't realize that.
it was Joey's first like his like debuting premiere or something like that for like producing a whole record by a band.
Yeah, yeah.
And he did an awesome job. I love Fire Up the Blades. I think it's like
Mm,
the songs are great, and the drum production and like the riffing and everything, like the guitar sounds, it's all really really good.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and um and so they didn't have a drummer, but it was still, they had just put out an album. They didn't have a drummer, and I wasn't it yet. And so we played a couple shows on our way to go meet up with the Black Dahlia Murder, which was the first tour I ever did.
That's sick.
Um, back when Shannon was the drummer, and
Oh man, Shannon, what a legend.
yeah, amazing.
I mean,
And
Alan is obviously a legend as well,
oh,
but Shannon
oh,
was a legend too.
yep, 100%. But uh, so they shot a music video with Joey playing drums in the music video, and so I got to
Oh
meet
shit!
him. I got to meet him for,
Wow.
and I had since like moved on from Slipknot or whatever, but still I was 21, and he was like one of my favorite drummers
He
at
was like a celebrity. So,
yeah, yeah, he
and
was for sure.
he would have been at that point as well. He would have still been, I guess, when you were hanging out with him.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
And he was still in the band, and we did 8 shows with Slipknot actually, maybe a couple years later, playing stadiums.
wow,
Yeah.
that's so sick. And that was your first kind of quote unquote proper band uh
Yeah. Yeah.
experience coming
Yeah,
from kind
my
of
quote unquote proper band experience, except well, at least in a touring sense. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, because I'm assuming obviously you did a whole bunch of stuff before that because
Oh,
you
for
know you
sure.
wouldn't have.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, I
And
did stuff before, and then I auditioned for the Dillinger Escape Plan too, which was just a
what? I
it's a
never knew
s-
that.
oh, you didn't know that?
Wow,
it's a
dude.
small footnote in my career, but they were they're obviously a serious band, and
Fuck, man. How
I
old
was
were you?
21.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. To even, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
To even be able to attempt to audition, that's fucking crazy.
I
Wow.
I attempted it, and I thought I did pretty well, but I wasn't the right guy. I wasn't the right fit. I still had things to learn for sure, and
Mm,
I wasn't half the drummer I am now. But
mm.
I was able to jam 5 songs to them and not crash and
That's
burn and
incredible.
finish them and whatever. But I was
Damn,
21,
dude.
and they were just ready to go do a record with Gil Sharon, one of the fucking best drummers ever. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So,
it
yeah,
worked out
that's
good though. So
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, and and that's I guess I think I remember my point, but the the thing was, we were both lucky that when we were kind of young, we experienced um obviously not granditudes or anything, not like fucking playing stadiums and stuff on
mhm,
with our own bus or anything like that, but
mhm.
you were playing with 3 inches of blood doing very well. I was lucky to be in aborted when I think I joined when I was 17 or 18,
No shit.
and like
Wow.
um you can see in especially in celebrity culture, like when young people just go off the rails.
Yeah, 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 for
Because I
sure.
remember myself at that time, and like even being an 18-year-old dude in a semi-successful European death metal band, I was
Mhm,
literally like, I'm the fucking king. Like
mhm,
I am invincible. This
mhm,
is this will be me forever. And then I feel so lucky that I had those experiences when I was younger, because then you grow up and you're like,
mhm.
oh shit, yeah. I'm still pretty young, but I've learned that yeah, I wasn't invincible.
Yeah, yeah, and
Do you know what I
I'm
mean?
replaceable too,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. And you kind of, and I think yeah, again, like we've shared experience in that. You're just kind of it's humbling, and I'm glad that I did have those experiences younger, because I think if I'd got them older, I don't know, I might still be in that mindset of like, yeah, I deserve this. Do you know,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think it's really important to kind of check yourself in a way, and as you say, you realize you are replaceable,
yeah,
and just be the best version of you that you can be. Um,
yeah.
but as far as like the difference between, sorry, bringing it back to
Yes.
your playing, apart as far as the difference between 3 inches and revocation, is there a huge difference between how you approached, like was 3 inches, was that a program situation, or was that like get in a room, jam it out, have some fun,
Yeah,
drink some beers, get
yeah,
lost in the moment, kind of romantic.
yeah, yeah, that was it was more of that, uh, there's 2 different guitar players. One, it was like a patchwork kinda thing of, like, putting things together with me in the room type of thing, and then another guy, he would come with more or less completed songs.
Yeah.
And him and I have a band still to this day, called Ritual Dictates.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
It's me and the guitar player for 3 Inches of Blood, Justin.
Mm.
He's so talented. He plays bass, keys, and sings and plays guitar, and he's just like he can fucking do everything.
Oh, he's one of those guys.
he's like, yeah, man, he's very, very talented. And he loves like ABBA and classic rock, and he's like also a pure black metal guy too. He just like so he has a really wide palette of listening, and
Yeah.
it really shows in his writing. And so yeah, it was easier obviously to be like, hey, I have this entire song and it's actually really, really well thought out, and then it's kind of
Mm.
like it's easier to write for something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so that was more, but still more of in a room type of situation versus revocation is like, we don't even live in the same city, and so it's usually just done by file sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I still track all my demos like with real drums, send it back,
Mm.
and then we have a discussion about it on Skype type of thing, and we figure things out. And then eventually when we meet up for rehearsal before a tour, then we like work on new music as well as running through the set type of thing.
Mm.
And it's like a long drawn out process, but it works. I mean, it works for us. You kind of just need to do whatever you can do
Mm.
to write music, and that's one of the things that I definitely haven't let stop me about this situation everybody finds themselves in right now is like, I like jamming with people and stuff well enough, but sometimes it's a pain in the ass, honestly, to to meet up with people and to slog out riffs and stuff. I'd rather just somebody just give me something and then I can like take my time to work on it,
Yeah,
at my
absolutely.
own leisure,
Mm.
and then send it back to them, and then I can just like, I can just send it, walk home, and then just go make dinner and whatever, go to sleep,
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
as you said, instead of like a half baked idea version of a idea that you have, you actually have something kind of a bit more thought out, and that isn't just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of the idea I think
Mhm.
I have, and it's, I
Mm.
guess it makes you feel a bit more confident than just doing what, oh, I need to come up with something right now in the room.
Mm.
And it's
Sure.
often, I mean, sometimes that works, but a lot of the time it's just the shit that's on the top of your brain that
Mhm.
it just kind of trickles out.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
I think especially with this kind of music, extreme music or metal music, you can't just well, maybe you can, but it's a lot harder to just kind of jam it out, isn't it? Because it's
Mm.
so, especially with Revocation, I can't imagine that could
Mm.
ever really be just, hey, let's jam, and then you
Yeah.
make a song in a couple of hours.
It's funny that that did happen one time, like the first song I think
Oh
that I
wow,
wrote
you've
that I
proved me wrong. You've proved me
no,
wrong.
no, well, but Dave is like, he's a unique player though, so it's like
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
he's when we were sort of writing some new stuff, we did have a little bit of time, and there was this one song we wrote called Communion that he we did it more or less like in a day or in a couple days, just like in the room together, and that was like one of the first times we actually wrote together. And it's funny because like we had like maybe the first, like, I don't know, few riffs figured out, and then he's like, we need something else there, maybe it should, I think something else needs to happen. And then I'm like, yeah, 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 that sounds good, something else, sure. And then I remember like sitting my you know I remember like my putting my face in my palm or whatever type of thing, waiting for him to come up with a riff type of thing. And I'm like, oh
Like a
man, I'm
teenager
like,
pose.
exactly. I'm like, man, this is gonna take forever and it's gonna be so boring where while he sits and tries to find the right notes.
Yeah, yeah.
But he came up with like, he just like came up with something like right away that was like sick as fuck, and I didn't have to wait at all. And
Wow,
I was like, whoa.
this
Yeah,
is another level.
I was like, yeah, that exactly like that. I wish everybody could, just be like, man, this part needs something. What shall it be? And
Boom.
not take, yeah, and just boom, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
So I was like, okay, fuck yeah, let's do it. Let's keep going.
And
So yeah.
that's kind of a unique feeling too, is when you do get that kind of thing in the room, and there's like, you are in a room and you build something in the room at that moment, and you're like, "Fuck,
Yeah.
this is sick."
Yeah.
That's a really unique. I mean, and it takes you back to being a teenager for me, being with your friends in high school or whatever, just in a
Yeah.
jam room, and obviously at the time you think it's great, but
Yeah.
probably it
Yeah.
isn't.
Yeah, yeah, no, at the time it's totally, at the time it's great. And then but yeah, now it's like I feel like I've been doing this long enough that it's just, I guess the sort of work format has just changed a little bit. Like yeah, I don't know. There's maybe been times in the past, like, 10 years or whatever, if I've been jamming with some people in town either as a favor or just cuz like, hey, let's have some fun and maybe write something. And then anytime I get that feeling of like, this is going to take forever to try and figure out one part. And then,
Yeah, yeah.
and then everybody, all five people in the room have to have their say, and,
Yeah,
and all this
yeah.
shit. Then I really start to get like,
Brain fog.
holy fuck. Can we
Yeah.
please just like figure this out and move on? And,
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
and not to mention if people didn't do their homework, and they're like, and then it essentially becomes like, hey, let's all sit here while, Jerry figures out his part or whatever, even though he should have done that last time,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
whatever.
Oh,
So
dude, I'm sure you're of the same mindset. My whole thing is practice to practice. So by the
mm,
time you get into a band practice, a band rehearsal,
hmm,
you should know your parts.
yeah,
Like you should never be in a situation where you're in the rehearsal
yeah,
learning your parts while everybody else is watching. And But again, I've been in situations, especially doing sessions and stuff, where I've gone in and I've played the stuff through, and the other people are just like, oh,
Mm.
so you know the parts, and I was like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
yeah, like, is that not what you wanted me to do? And you
Yeah,
can tell they're just like, oh, yeah,
yeah,
I thought we'd kind of all figure it out together, and you're
yeah.
like, oh, well, that's fine, but
Yeah.
it takes a long time to do to do that shit.
Hey man, like, and you're playing like in a serious modern metal band. Like you're only as strong as your weakest link or
Yeah,
whatever, you
exactly.
know. And I don't.
Everybody has to kind of be on it, don't they? In
Yeah,
especially in modern metal, it's kind of like, yeah, it's the weak one rises to the top, and oh, okay, yeah,
yeah,
so it's
yeah.
kind
Ugh, I don't want to be that guy.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. It's
for sure.
ruthless, dude. It's ruthless.
It is.
But yeah. So I've realised we've been talking for a long time, despite the technical issues, which we won't mention. But
It's
just
yeah. Keep going. You. I think if you had some more questions written down.
yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
I've just got a bunch of notes of stuff that I wanted to ask you about, and Twitch was one of them because I'm just intrigued because I'm kind of an old man in my brain,
Mm-hmm.
and like, is the Twitch thing closer to a drum clinic than it is to a show? Because I've heard some people say, "Oh, it's the closest thing to playing a live show,"
Yeah.
um, or is it more like what was the reason behind you giving it a go? And are you enjoying it? Like, are you glad you've kind of started doing it? And is it a cool experience so far?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do enjoy it. I'm not sure what the inspiration was, but I know Gene told me that he really enjoyed doing his.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Gene Hoglan,
yeah.
and
The
he,
legend.
yeah, the best metal drummer who's ever lived. But yeah, he was like, hey, you should give this a shot, and I got some other friends who are we're doing it. And yeah, so I would say it's closer to playing live, but it's also a little bit like a clinic in that people can ask you questions, except that not everybody is a drummer or a musician.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it can usually be a little bit more anecdotal of like I just sit and engage with people in the comments because it's all happening as they can comment as things happen. So and be like, oh, I love this song. Oh, I always wondered, where did you guys record this or whatever. You could be like, and then you could be like, oh
oh,
yeah,
that's kind
well,
of cool.
oh yeah, that's funny you mentioned that because like we did it here. And then the people, we did it in Massachusetts, and then someone might say, "Oh man, great deli in Massachusetts," and then I'll be like, "Oh yeah, totally. There's this place that's there," and then maybe you're talking about food or whatever, and then it's like, it can just kind of be about whatever, and people just want to see you do your thing, really.
Yeah, and
But
just hang out and chill. Yeah,
totally. It's pretty neat, and I like I've maybe done like 8 or something like that, and I just made affiliate. It's called, where you can start actually like making a little bit of income if
mm,
people donate or give you
yeah,
subscriptions. But anyways, but it is a lot like playing a show in that like you feel like you're playing for people instead of just like practicing a song by yourself.
yeah,
So
yeah. So there is that kind of pressure to, oh, I can't just stop halfway through the song if I
yeah,
fuck it up, or yeah,
yeah,
which
yeah,
obviously we totally do in our practice rooms.
yeah. For sure. Yep. Yeah. And there's times where I come out of a Twitch session and I feel like really tired, like I had just played like an intense show or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then obviously doing talking and stuff like that. But in
Mm.
general, I have fun. I mean, there was one time where I played a whole Simpsons album, like I
That's
like
sick.
yeah, like there's ones where I played Revocation and 3 Inches of Blood songs, and then like Blue Oyster Cult songs and Rush songs, and then there was one time where I started getting into the wine a little bit, and then I was just like and then I was just like people started talking about The Simpsons because I probably made a reference, and then there's this soundtrack called Songs in the Key of Springfield, as in Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. But
Yeah, yeah.
and it's just a collection of like their songs from the season 2 to season 6 or whatever the hell. And it's anything from like big band to funk or just whatever. And I was
Wow,
just
that's
there,
so cool.
the songs are like 30 seconds to a minute long, and there's like 35 or 40 of them, and I just played them all,
Just
just
jamming along to them.
No, and people like, hey, this is great. No one's like, this is a jip. I want to see him do
Y-
Revocation songs or whatever.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Actually, the very first song that I played on my first Twitch ever was a Carcass song.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It was Embodiment. I mean,
Oh man,
it wasn't one of
that's a
yours.
classic. You
Yeah,
I remember you played that at the
at Drumeo.
the Drumeo studio. Yeah,
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 that was
yeah.
sick, man. That was
I got
sick.
I got a hard on for that song and for that record, but you
Oh,
know,
dude, that song is still one of my favorites. We've never played it either, which fucking sucks.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe one day.
I remember when you first joined, and I mean, I, I really liked Daniel's great, but I mean, I think
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, but I think you're the best drummer the band's. I mean, Ken's, the legacy of that, but like, I mean, fuck, man, like, I love your playing in that band,
Thank you, man. That's
and
very kind.
and then when you first joined too, it was like I think I saw you guys at the Commodore Ballroom here, and he's like, Jeff's like, this is our new drummer. He's it's our new drummer, Dan. He's played. He's from England, and he's played in a bunch of bands no one's ever heard of or cares about, or
Yeah.
something like that. I was just like, oh,
That
wow.
that actually sounds quite nice compared to a lot of the stuff that he said. He said I'm
Probably.
wanted for there's I can't remember where it was, some festival somewhere. He was like, yeah, this is our drummer. He's wanted for paedophilia in 15 countries and stuff.
15
I was like,
countries.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, cheers, dude. Thanks. I have children. Thanks for that.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and now
But
you're no longer the new guy. Now Tom's the new guy.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, oh yeah, dude. I've bet it's almost 10 years now, which is fucking crazy.
that is
No,
crazy.
sorry, 9 years, 9 years. Yeah, but yeah, is Commodore Ballroom? Is that the big one upstairs?
Yep,
Is that the really nice one?
yep,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
Good
place
spot.
is nice. That place is nice, man. The
The
equally as awesome, but in the sketchier area one that we played last
it's
time?
basically the exact opposite. Yeah, it's the rickshaw. I
Rickshaw,
think.
dude, that place is amazing as well, though. I
Yeah,
love
it's
that
pretty
place.
cool. It's yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got a real vibe to it. I really
Oh
really
yeah.
like it.
Hmm.
But yeah, so we've had a long lovely chat. Thank you very much for that. I'll round it up there so that you can get on with your day, and I'll get to bed because we're on a crazy different time zone.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I really appreciate you thinking about me for having this first episode, and man, I wish you luck, or that whatever the version of good luck is, and yeah, and
Thank you, man.
I think you'll do great, and I really enjoyed talking with you too, man. It was great to catch up a little bit
Yeah,
too.
and that's the thing. It was just good to catch up in general, with or without a podcast. And I thought, why not just record it? So
Yep, there you
so
go.
people can listen to us talking shit about whatever we just talked shit about. I'll have to listen back, and I can't
Yeah.
remember half the stuff we talked
Yeah,
about.
for sure. I
But
thought it was good.
yeah, yeah,
I'd
I've had a
want to
lot of fun.
listen.
But yeah, thank you very much, dude. And obviously we will keep in touch.
All right, Dan. Sounds good,
Yes,
buddy.
thank you, man.